Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Wolfong. I'm the Communications and Public Relations Coordinator here at CTEC of Licking County. And we have decided to profile some of our successful and interesting alumni here via Zoom during these COVID times. And today we have Tabitha Tinsman, who is a 2012 graduate from our clinical care program. Tabitha has a really interesting life, and I think a story that a lot of you will appreciate. So let's get right to it. I'll introduce right now Tabitha Tinsman. Tabitha, welcome. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Tabitha, tell us a little bit about yourself. You grew up here in Licking County?
Yes, I grew up in Newark, Ohio, and I graduated from both CTEC of Licking County and Newark High School in 2012. And I now work as a travel nurse.
So before we get there, you came to CTEC your junior year in the clinical care program from Newark. What prompted that decision? Was CTEC something that was always on your horizon, or was it just, what brought you here?
So sophomore year, I had a conversation with my mother, and she was a graduate of Joint Vocational School, which is the former name for CTEC, for those who didn't know that. And she had a really good experience, and she was encouraging me to go to CTEC, but she said, ultimately, I'll leave it up to you. I went to the open houses they have at the time and went around to the different labs. And I had been interested in healthcare since at least middle school and knew I wanted to do something with that. And the clinical care program is what I applied for. And
here at CTEC, obviously you're in the clinical care program for 2 years. And were you involved in any of the CTSOs that we have, Skills USA and HOSA?
Yes, I was in Skills USA my junior year. And then at that time, CTEC was moving to becoming involved with HOSA as well.
Okay.
And so they wanted to shift anybody who was in a healthcare program to HOSA. And I competed in Skills USA, I believe in nurse assisting, if I remember correctly. And then we went to regionals with Skills USA. And then senior year in HOSA, I was able to go all the way to nationals with Mrs. Carrie Bradenberg and several other classmates. We went to Orlando, Florida, Disney World, and we all competed. I was not in the top 3, but I would not trade that experience for anything, because it really was motivating to apply what we had learned and to just learn how to compete in a healthy academic way.
So you're at CTEC, you have 2 years here, you have these, the national experience with HOSA, you go through your certifications and doing all that fun stuff with clinical care. Any standout memories from your years as a clinical care student? The blood draws, or I don't know.
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't know exactly which area to start off with.
Sure.
But so being in the clinical care program, you do practice on each other first. Like I said, I was very shy. I could carry a conversation with one person at a time, but still pretty timid, not great with strangers. And so with our clinical care class, we had to practice our ADLs, activities of daily living, on each other. This included dressing, turning, positioning, and putting EKG leads on each other's bodies in the correct placement so that you can get an accurate reading. All of that was very new to me. Okay. And I was glad that we got to practice it on each other before we went to a nursing home setting, because you have to have real experience,
Sure.
Before you can apply to take your state test and nurse assistant certification. And that's what started my journey on knowing how to talk to patients. And am I perfect? No, of course not. every now and then you still get nervous, especially depending on the situation. But the fact that as a new nurse, I had already talked to my first patient and performed hands-on care at 16 years old.
That's a great point. Yeah.
No idea that would even be a possibility for somebody like me. And I say somebody like me because I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't realize how much I had grown while I was at C-Tech. But when you're doing something you love and you have a great support system of educators, my initiative went into overdrive. I really do feel that way. And that I was so happy junior and senior year. I felt like a sponge, just trying to absorb everything. And it's really because at C-Tech, you're going into an area of education that you are particularly interested in. And yes, you have your academics wrapped around it, but I think being able to know you're heading down the path that you want to go down, it makes everything else that much better. Like I just felt like I had more of a drive. Started working in a dementia unit at Sharon Brook Assisted Living. You require STNA experience for you to apply to nursing school. Mm-hmm. By the time you get accepted in the program, you have to have a certain number of hours. It varies. I'm sure it's changed since I was in college. But honestly, it wasn't even about the pay. The experience I got working with patients, you know, as a college freshman, and it put things into perspective, from textbook to this clinical setting.
I bet.
Because usually you take about a year of prerequisites in nursing school. As you're applying to the program, you either get accepted or you don't, have to wait another semester or not. And then not until your second semester of nursing school do you have your first clinical setting. And already having the STNA experience, and I'm starting to work with patients, I became more comfortable and with communication with the ADLs and that sort of thing. And I went to COTC, Central Ohio Technical College, for my associate's degree. Actually, C-Tech assisted me with applying for scholarships and grants. And my associate degree, with the exception of maybe $500-600, was completely paid for thanks to their assistance. But after I graduated from my associate's degree, 2-year nursing program, I started at Genesis Healthcare in Zanesville, Ohio, on the cardiovascular intermediate unit, which is like a step-down unit, focusing mostly on heart issues. And we took care of post-open heart surgery patients, cardiac catheterizations, where people put stents in the heart after there has been a infarct or a blockage or a loss of blood flow. And so I worked on that unit for 3 years. And then after the 3 years, I decided that I wanted to branch into something new. And I did a short stint in open heart surgery, being right there in the room.
Oh, wow.
I learned a lot. I got to see a lot. I got to see hearts literally stopped with the CAS machine. And then as the circulator, cardiothoracic surgeon tells you when to hit the button as he holds the paddles to restart the heart. So that was short-lived for myself because, to be honest, it wasn't what was for me.
Sure.
It was a little too intense, and I wanted more communication with my patients. So I quickly figured out that was not where I wanted to stay, although it wasn't a great experience. So then I went into post-anesthesia care, and I did that for 2 years. You are the nurse that the patient, still sedated most of the time, comes out to, and you're one-on-one with that patient until they wake up. You might be the one removing their airway device, their ET tube, or extubating. You treat any sort of side effects from anesthesia, you treat pain, you watch their literally brand new incisions for any signs of bleeding or abnormal changes. And then you take them up to the floor, wherever they're going to stay or go home within like half an hour to 2 hours. And so I did that for 2 years, and I really learned a lot about anesthesia. So that's when I decided to start travel nursing. I did take 4 medical missions to Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, through a group called Manos Juntas, or Helping Hands, or Hands Together. And we did free clinics in different poverty areas of Mexico, provided patients with education on treating their chronic illnesses. We treated acute illnesses that were non-life threatening. We got to tell people, you're expecting a child. We had to tell one young man, you have an active GI bleed, you need to get to a hospital. We educated on basic pain relief of Tylenol and ibuprofen. All of this was provided free to patients who walked into the clinic.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Now, you paid for that experience, or was that a volunteer experience?
I paid to volunteer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gotcha.
So you do, of course, since it is through a nonprofit organization, you pay for your own plane ticket, and you do pay a small amount so that you can stay in Mexico and so that you can buy medical supplies for these areas. And so it's honestly one of the most rewarding things.
I bet.
Yeah.
And so is that what kind of prompted you to look into the travel nursing? Or?
It did, yes, because I thought that was my most culturally diverse experience I had ever had.
I bet.
Most patients speak very little, if any, English. And I wanted to start toning up my Spanish a little bit more. I have a long ways to go. But also you learn how to communicate with people who do not have the same healthcare mindset that you might have been raised to have in the States.
Sure.
And you take into account the different healthcare lifestyles, how culture plays a role in that, how cuisine, the way people cook food, plays a role in what kind of disease processes you see where you're at. And I thought, if I can go to Mexico, and help patients here where there's a language barrier, I'll probably be fine if I start travel nursing, And I think that started the seed of it. And so, last April was my first assignment, and it was after COVID that prompted me to do that. I was like, I need to get out there and help.
Good for you. And where was the first assignment?
It was in Olney, Maryland, which is 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I was on a COVID unit, and it was just a 4-week assignment, but in those 4 weeks, that is the most, it was the most difficult nursing I've ever had.
Why is that?
I hadn't seen people deteriorate so quickly.
Yeah.
And without there being something you can do, because starting in healthcare at 16, being a nurse at 20, and you don't have all the answers, but you start feeling pretty confident. I've been a nurse at 5 years at this point on how to care for a patient who's desaturating or is having chest pain, for example. But with COVID, especially last March and April, it was so new that most of the treatments that were not adjunct therapies or, relief measures were experimental at that point. And I personally lost 2 patients in 1 week.
Oh, wow.
That I was, coding myself with the team, of course, but that I had initiated a code on, and neither one made it.
What an experience. Like you said, so new and wow.
So there was a lot of loss, but I really do feel like it made myself, and I'm sure a lot of other nurses will say this who've been on the front lines with COVID, that it's made you a better nurse and a better person.
Yeah, how could
and it also pushes you to your limits that you didn't know that you could go past.
I bet. So walk us through your travel year, I guess. So we had Maryland, and then where did you go?
So after Maryland, I took a short break, went back to the hospital I've been working at, Genesis Healthcare System, still per diem staff, and I picked up a few shifts, and then I started in Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska, at a surgery center.
Very cool.
And so at the surgery center, we did everything from getting the patient ready for a surgery, making sure their consents are signed, making sure that you have an updated medical list, allergies, all of that, to waking them up from surgery, doing the PACU type of nursing, and then providing them discharge education for home, follow-up appointments, all of that. And believe it or not, Alaska also had a very culture diverse group that we saw. There was a lot of Native Alaskan citizens and Inuit persons, and I loved hearing those stories and hearing them talk about their cultures and how long their families have been living in Alaska. I mean, hundreds of years.
I bet, yeah.
And and one of the things I really love, which obviously goes along with CTEC, is educating, because education is what changes people's lives.
That's exactly right.
Caring does too, having a heart for people, which I also experienced going to CTEC, but also educating. And so there was definitely a lot of opportunities to do that, and just to do it with sincerity, and people can tell when you care about them.
Absolutely.
It comes through. And so that was my summer. And then I took, I think, 2 or 3 weeks off. And then I went to Guam because there was a shortage of nurses, and COVID had hit Guam very hard. And I started off on a COVID unit, and they said they were going to bounce the travel nurses back and forth from a couple of weeks on the COVID unit, a couple of weeks on the step-down unit. And myself and a few others, after being on the step-down unit, they kept us there the rest of the time. So I was there for 3 months, and once again, whole different culture from what I had experienced. Pacific Islander patients, and from the Mariana Islands, from Samoa. I enjoyed hearing those stories, and I enjoyed taking time to educate. And I had a patient while we were there tell me, "You are the first nurse who has explained my medications to me in liquid form."
Huh.
I was very surprised.
Sure.
But sometimes I think we make assumptions that people understand us because we understand ourselves,
Sure.
But it's watching the feedback. If facial expressions haven't changed, they probably do not know what you're talking about. You need to explain it in a different way. And also the resources in Guam, especially the local hospital. There's a couple hospitals there, but the local public hospital, most of their equipment has been around for decades. It's not been updated. Their resources are limited, and they will say that themselves. Local staff will say that themselves. So it was a challenge to get creative when you don't have a certain specialist available to see a patient with a urology issue or whatever it may be. And I had a fantastic time in Guam. And next step should be California.
Wow. What a year you've had. I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, how many, such a diverse experience of culture and geography and just a variety of experiences in 1 year's time. This is, I mean, it's exciting. You intend to keep with travel nursing for a while then?
I do. I haven't felt the urge to put down roots at a staff job yet. 9 years, about 9 years now, 2012 until 2021. I would not have saw myself as a travel nurse. I honestly, there were doubts at times that I would ever become a nurse, that would be something that I was smart enough to do or have the financial funds to be able to do.
Sure.
And I really I thought before, if I didn't start at CTEC with the clinical care program, with getting that basis, because you learn in the clinical care program, you learn, you start taking your chemistry classes, your biology classes, your anatomy and physiology, your medical terminology. All of those are foundations that a lot of people, start learning in nursing school.
Sure.
And I wonder if things would have been different,
Had you not had that high school experience?
Yeah. I do think at the very least, I would have graduated college a lot later.
More students like you finish. And I wonder if it's not because of the career tech experience and some of the things that you have to do to be successful in those programs.
It teaches you discipline.
I bet, absolutely.
Early on, that it really, and I wasn't an adult when I was at CTEC, which I'm glad there are adult education programs. But, as a junior in high school, being at CTEC I was treated like an adult.
Sure.
And I was expected to behave like an adult in a mature and at least a mature way. And also, people talk to you like your opinion mattered. And that was new for me in high school,
Sure.
I don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say that my instructors in my regular high school were in any way not respectful, but I really did feel like I was part of the team at CTEC.
It's just a different sort of expectation and experience.
It was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've mentioned this, but I believe it was halfway through junior year that I got an opportunity to start taking college classes through COTC while I was still at CTEC. And all of those classes that I was able to take, I never would, at my home school, I wouldn't have even known that was an opportunity at that time. And we were actually the first group they trialed it on at CTEC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mrs. Greenberg told us that.
We still have it. It's called College Credit Plus now.
Okay.
And it's, it's available at lots of places, but like you said, because of what you were doing here at CTEC and when it makes sense with your career tech options, it's a perfect segue.
And it saves so much money.
Yes, it does.
It saves so much.
Students who are going to do post-secondary, if they can, wherever they're going to school, if they can take advantage of that, they should.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Tabitha, I kept you on here much longer than I am.
I'm sorry, I'm a little long-winded myself.
This is a very interesting interview. I have greatly appreciated it. I think you're a great example to students and alumni of not just CTEC, and I appreciate your kind words about us, but I mean, just life in general. You have a kind heart, and so many times you did such an excellent job of talking about education and compassion and knowledge and diversity and all of those things that are so very important and make people successful people and successful nurses and successful teachers. Maybe that's not in your future. Often when you were talking,
I totally forgot to mention that, Ryan.
What's that?
I am so sorry. I have up until April of last year, for a full year, I taught for Ohio University as a clinical nursing instructor.
I did not know that.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I forgot to mention that.
Well, I have not planned this. I did not know that about Tabitha, but while you were talking, I kept saying, she's got the makings of a teacher.
Thank you.
It must be obvious then. Good for you. That's awesome. So that's a possible career path later too.
That's something I would definitely be open to. I love it because I know how it is to be in the shoes of a teenager who is unsure of themselves but has the potential, and all they need is an educator to say, I believe in you, you've got this. This is how we're going to do it. Walk with me.
Good
Yeah.
for you. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I appreciate your time. I know you're here on a sort of break before you head out to California. But this is awesome, and I'm very appreciative of it. CTech is very proud of you. How could we not be? And I appreciate you allowing us to share this story as many places as we can.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for, thinking of me. I appreciate it.